Isuzu Ute, the company most likely to be grabbing its ankles and kissing its Australian RS goodbye when Chris Bowen's fuel efficiency standard knees them in the testes with full force in just a couple of years, has released a new range-topping D-Max Blade. Named after, pretty obviously, cranky, tax-evading half-breed vampire slayer, Wesley Snipes. The mighty Blade is gagging for the Australian Outback, seemingly, and if you are that similarly minded beard stroker, male or female, Isuzu wants you to know that the Blade is tuned with precise geographic specificity for the great Australian Outback. And yet, disconcertingly, they don't appear to understand basic Australian Outback geography. Go figure. That's right, dude. This might just be press release of the year. I'm Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au. New cars cheap, but Australia only. Website. Code. Cutting right to it now. Can you see what's wrong with this picture? During the 3-year development process, Blade prototypes were subjected to a 100,000 kilometre testing program encompassing dynamic rig rough track tests, which simulated local road surfaces, rough tracks, and the likes of the tortuous Gibb River Road in the Kimberley, Northern Territory. Amazing. This is the perfect way for a car company to torch its hardcore Outback credibility. Did you spot it? Like the problem? Did you? Never fear if not, dude. We'll get back to this later because it's impossibly awesome. Only a car company could be quite this collectively stupid. Perhaps Anthony Albanese himself was consulted.
Solar panels on the roof, charging your vehicle for free overnight.
The $77,000 drive-away Isuzu D-Max Blade is probably the best D-Max ever, mainly because it was built deep inside Amarok Station, or at least remanufactured there. Do you remember Amarok Station, otherwise known as Walkinshaw Automotive, the iconic former HSV bumper bar factory at Clayton in Victoria, gateway to Sexyland Springvale? It's only 5 minutes up the road from Bumper Bar Central to the Sexyland drive-through. Or 3, I suppose, in a D-Max Blade, because you can straight line it more or less, kind of like the Blues Brothers, obviously. To me, the Walkinshaw Bumper Bar factory is Melbourne's Rio de Janeiro, with nearby Sexyland just looking down on them, like Rio's giant statue of Jesus with boundless love and forgiveness, as if to say, come on in, dude. There's no shame, it's quite okay. That'll be $29.95. Best not put this one on the company card. Despite the steaming pile of geographic poop coming up, and to be honest, this is some of my best investigative shit-stirring, I'd have to say that the Bumper Bar factory doesn't do a bad job making OEM vehicles seem somewhat spicier, making them a little less shit, but without going the full unroadworthy ARB redneck pimp. Sexyland being so close obviously helps a lot with morale, one supposes. A concern I have, however, is the price. According to Redbook, the D-Max X-Terrain is also $77,000 drive away, which is the same price as the Blade. Blade is described as a, quote, new flagship that is, quote, further Australianised and enhanced. And P.S., Australianised is not actually a word. And, quote, embodies evolutionary design and engineering with higher specification packaging, as expected from Isuzu's most capable vehicle. And yet, I would argue it's the same price as an X-Terrain. I'd suggest, therefore, that if you bought an X-Terrain yesterday or last week or vaguely lately, you would have a large and uncomfortable piece of razor wire forming deep in your anus about this right about now. You would feel uncomfortable as a result, ripped off, perhaps like a total chump. Blade is therefore A discount flagship, a concept which, to me at least, is steeped in commercial insanity. Oh well. What is Blade when you undo the clasp on its wonder bra? What actually flops out and hits you in the knees? It's a modest lift with new suspension, wheels, tyres, a red bash plate and matching sexy recovery points, and typically trivial bumper bar factory garnish and stocking fillers. The result of over 3 years of concepting and prototyping behind closed doors, Isuzu Ute Australia has finally answered Australia's call by introducing an off-road ute without compromise, the Isuzu D-Max Blade. Pro tip, concepting is not a word. It's just a brain-dead way of saying conceiving. D-Max Blade has been developed locally for Australian off-road conditions, completing a 100,000 kilometre durability test program in Melbourne and Outback, Australia. Kindly do not tease me with any more of that cheeky concepting. I already have a chubby at an undisclosed location concerning these 2.5 laps of the planet durability testing in, among other things, the mad Shitsvillian Outback. Take me there, take me now, dude. I double dead dingoes dong a dare you. Shadow of Sexyland engineers. I want to go there now. I know they also said Melbourne, and certainly any concepting done at a bumper bar factory in the shadow of Sexyland is beyond reproach in some ways, but I really want a deep dive into Blade's Outback BDSM self-improvement fantasy. Engineered and tested locally by way of a comprehensive 100,000 kilometre durability testing program in Melbourne and Outback, Australia, the D-Max Blade is set to deliver an unparalleled combination of off-road performance and rugged reliability with local ride and handling tuning to suit local conditions, all whilst maintaining the hallmark qualities that the nameplate is renowned for, such as its 3.5-ton braked towing capacity, a generous 896 kilos of payload capacity, and proven performance efficiency and dependability from Isuzu's venerable 140 kilowatt, 450 newton meter, 3-litre turbo diesel engine. Okay, so the Blade has 34 kilos less payload capacity than a D-Max X-Terrain Auto. That red 3mm bash plate must be quite heavy, and the new bumper bars, obviously. Just one small point of order, however. When Isuzu released the current iteration of this shitbox, they fell all over themselves to explain, if that's the right word, how the same old engine was somehow new. They used the N-word. I remember it, or I might have had a brain aneurysm, but now apparently it's a, quote, venerable engine. That didn't take long. I've been using Sonax SX90 Plus for almost a year now, and in that time, it's become my go-to spray lube here in the Fat Cave. SX90 Plus is a premium German multifunctional oil in a pressure pack, but you can also get it in 5-litre bulk packs. It displaces water and it's got good solvent and excellent corrosion protection properties as well. I use SX90 Plus with Scotch-Brite to knock down surface rust, which happens everywhere down here, and for the dozens of other applications that crop up when you're repairing and rebuilding, civilization. It's extremely effective and it seems to have a lot of oil in it per unit volume, like some competitors seem to be mainly just solvent to me. And the precision nozzle is built in, so I'm kind of done fiddling with the little taped on tube on the side of the can that you inevitably lose in the first 5 minutes. When you fold that nozzle down, SX90 Plus just reverts automatically to a wider spray. SX90 Plus is a premium product from Germany. Sonax does a heap of car care stuff as well. The car care range is excellent too, and it caters to everyone from professionals and enthusiasts to people like me who just want to knock the dirt off quick and reveal a somewhat clean car underneath. Go to sonax.com.au now. You'll get 10% off if you use the code AUTOEXPERT10 across the whole range of Sonax products. I'll put a link in the description. That SX90 Plus really is awesome stuff. In trying to understand the Blade, I thought it might be extremely helpful, or, perhaps not, if we examine what the bumper bar factory head designer had to say about it. Julian Quincy, chief designer at the bumper bar factory, said he found, quote, harmony by working with and accentuating the existing design language of the core vehicle, building upon its strengths. Me, I'd just whip over to Sexyland if I were kind of short on harmony, dude, but whatever makes your gondola buoyant. I don't judge, in other words. There has to be more where this came from because it smells like such a rich vein to me. Visually, with the widened stance and increased ride height, the Blade makes an absolute statement. But equally, it looks part of the Isuzu range. Imagine that, the underlying challenge. Not just making a statement, but an absolute one. And it still looks like an Isuzu. Go figure. Even after all that intensive remanufacturing, colouring in the door handles like that and bolting on a red bash plate. Also looks, to me at least, kind of like a mighty Mazda BT50. The venerable She-Max. Go figure. I suppose I now have a better understanding of exactly why NASA got a crack team of leading automotive designers together at Mission Control when it came time to reboot the Apollo 13 command module and burn for re-entry. Who else could have achieved that? Now, I suppose, the moment I've all been waiting for. This rugged Outback durability testing program. The unsealed BDSM Blade section. Let's rip it open. That's what my chubby and I have been waiting for today, and doubtless yours also. Ensuring that the suspension met the rigorous design brief, the Bumper Bar factory evaluated a total of 30 different damper tunes at their engineering facility and at the Lang Lang Proving Grounds in Victoria before a week-long Outback Australia sign-off test in the Flinders Ranges and Arkaroola, South Shitsville. Ah yes, Lang Lang, the world's only possessed proving ground, haunted even today by the ghost of Holden, plus a week-long sign-off test in the Flinders and Arkaroola. And okay, that is in the Outback, like technically, but if the Outback were milk, I would argue, the Flinders Ranges and Arkaroola would be skim. And like Ron Swanson, I hate skim. 1 week. If you've got a shit-hot R&D facility, you can probably get 90 to 95% of the way there with springs and damper tuning via simulation, meaning computer modelling, like a glorified spreadsheet and a few formulas. And of course, in-house rig testing in the shadow of Sexyland, so helpful. So that would be fine. That's all fine, right? But I would hate anyone to read that release and just assume that they actually went out and did 2 and a bit laps of Earth out, beyond bumfuck, nailing it out there. Which is not a bad name for a movie or a band, is it? Beyond bumfuck. You'd buy tickets to that, admit it, and I would see you there. Dude. During the 3-year development process, Blade prototypes were subjected to a 100,000 kilometre testing program encompassing dynamic rig rough track tests which simulated local road surfaces, rough tracks, and the likes of the tortuous Gibb River Road in the Kimberley, Northern Territory. Okay, so here we are, finally, ready and waiting for the money shot. The big sister, as Quentin Tarantino is famous for saying on set. There are quite a few problems with this statement, I think you'd agree, which is nestled deep inside a 9-page press release about new suspension and wheels, a shiny new bash plate, bumper bars, obviously, move over Hilux Rogue, Ranger Raptor, meet the $77,000 Isuzu Shadow of Sexyland Wilderness Shagger kind of thing. 9 pages. Quite an achievement. I'm going to put that particular statement up on the screen now, just to let the full horror of it sink in, the idiocracy of it. Did you spot what is wrong with it? The huge glaring error up front. Have another crack at it, dude, now while I warm you up with some other problems. This allegedly arduous 100,000 kilometre shakedown includes an unspecified number of thousands of Ks, presumably in the multiple tens of thousands, just kind of shaken all over on a glorified jumping castle deep in the shadow of Sexyland's Springvale. Here's a supplied shot of said bouncy castle. It exists. Not quite as much fun as the bouncy castle on which your kid broke his arm during his 10th birthday celebrations, but hey, it's there. They didn't actually go to the allegedly torturous Gibb River Road in the Kimberley, or if they did, they declined to mention that, which would be a kind of serious oversight when you think about it. They just seemingly simulated the likes of it on a bouncy castle abutting Sexyland. Imagine that. I've driven it 4 times, incidentally. Like the Gibb River Road, dude, not the Sexyland bouncy castle. Although I hear that is also quite the rough ride. To simulate the Gibb River Road, or, quote, the likes of it, these bumper bar engineers must be quite in touch with that harsh road, one would assume, this Outback icon, this mecca for would-be blade buyers, to simulate the likes of it with such amazing fidelity at a dedicated bouncy castle so far away in the shadow of Sexyland. Isuzu's executives and their counterparts at the bumper bar factory and their amazing combined familiarity with both the Gibb River Road and the Kimberley and all the challenges these pose to intrepid Australian 4x4 adventuring bogans. Imagine it, dude. Even this vast combined in-house experience appears insufficient for them to know that neither the Gibb River Road nor the Kimberley region itself are located in the Northern Territory. This is perfect. It's gold in the 100 metres Outback Shit for Brains Olympics. The Gibb River Road and the Kimberley, these outback adventuring icons, are both, of course, located in Western fucking Australia. The glorious Gibb River Road runs through breathtaking busted-ass cattle scrub between Kununurra and Derby, both well inside W-fucking-A. The impression I get here is that 2 companies operating as one with combined purpose, collectively embellishing a vehicle with new bumpers, etc., for the Outback. And not just any vehicle, but a halo vehicle that has, quote, finally answered Australia's call by introducing an off-road ute without compromise. They don't know where the Gibb River Road and the Kimberley actually are on a map of our fucking country. To me, this statement is beyond merely perfect. The glorious expanse of ignorance orbiting it. It's like looking through a telescope up at the night sky for the very first time. Who knew that disconnection from the customer base could be this breathtaking? This is not just a regrettable negligent discharge somewhere on the range, is it? It's the whole freaking magazine straight down the pipe, right in the junk. These 2 locations, the road and the entire Kimberley region through which it passes, all 424,000 square kilometres of it, are every bit as iconic as Dingo Piss Creek itself. They're the kinds of places a beard-stroking, effluent-toting, potential blade buying bogan is going to lie awake at night fantasising about visiting with a little teepee down there in the sheets. I suggest that this kind of dude would know exactly which fucking state the Kimberley and the Gibb River Road are in. They might even think it's, I don't know, absurdly out of touch to bullshit about designing a ute for precisely these places without first knowing where the fuck they actually are. Putting the Kimberley in the Northern Territory could become a bold new thing, perhaps. Imagine that. Because clearly the facts don't matter as much as they used to, do they? Like, fuck it, dude. Let's put Cape York there too, in the Kimberley, in the Northern Territory. That'll make visiting a whole lot easier. Imagine the fuel you'll save. Let's move, I don't know, Mount Hotham to Tasmania. They could use the extra snow for, tourism. And let's put some actual living human beings in Adelaide, shall we? Spice up the old cemetery a bit, for visitors, and we might move it to Victoria, of course. My proposed geographic relocations there are all, roughly equivalent to moving the Kimberley to the Northern Territory in terms of, let's call it, outrageous geographic promiscuity. Perhaps I'm just asking the wrong question. I wonder what location do they themselves identify as being in, which might be somewhat more contemporary now that I think about it. Sexyland must, of course, always remain close to the bumper bar factory at Amarok Station because we have to keep morale there sky high for future amusing projects. Our team of 60 in-house engineers in Melbourne were entrusted by Isuzu to perfect the Blade, developing it into something truly competitive and capable. We've had engineers with 35 years of experience lead the development of this program, and the ride and handling improvements speak for themselves. Trev Barrel on there, the big barrel himself, the engineering cheese at the bumper bar factory near Sexyland. That's the nicest way I've ever seen someone say that the standard D-Max handles like a bucket of lukewarm pus. That's what I heard then anyway, but perhaps the standard one remains excellent, whereas the Blade is just impossibly better even than that. And B, what a pity that none of the 60 engineers with 35 years of experience looked at a draft of that flaccid press release, because they sure as shit, one of them at least, would have known what fucking state these Outback icons are in fact located within. One certainly does hope so, in any case. So how this works, okay, the draft release gets written and then they send it upstairs, don't they, to the shot callers for approval. And the shot callers take valuable time out from posting on LinkedIn about how fucking amazing they are to ensure that they sound suitably credible in the release, concepting and making absolute statements. Like, why check the facts at all, as long as it just rolls off the tongue? Dude, W-A-N-T, tomato, tomato, the granular detail. Who has time for that? I would argue that these senior executives are the custodians of credibility, right? They front the show for their brands, and none of these geniuses apparently, and it is a team effort. I mean, a dozen people must have read this release before it got signed off. None of them either read the whole release or is capable of passing a basic Outback geography test. Come on. These are people making key decisions about a ute that they want you to think is capable of visiting these places and just sort of shrugging it off like it's no effort for this vehicle at all. These places, whatever the hell they are and wherever the hell they may be on the map. Cock of a road, next 900 kilometres. They've never even seen that sign at the side of the road, let alone driven past it for hours. Maybe just, I don't know. This is merely constructive criticism, and you do know how I love being constructive. Maybe just tune it for the Sexyland drive-through next time. Things get pretty rough there after all from time to time. At least that's what I heard. It's quite a demanding environment also. Like, anything can happen. And everyone knows precisely where it is. And I think you'd agree, that's always such a big plus.